welcome to the show. Today's conversation brings a perspective of global business professional who has spent more than 3 decades leading teams, scaling businesses across continents, and shaping leaders through mentoring and coaching. Our guest has built and expanded businesses units in North America and Asia, launched new ventures in life sciences, led technology-driven transformations, and now coaches executive on leadership, communication, and executive presence. For an MBA audience preparing to build careers in a world shaped by rapid change, his journey offers practical lessons from both corporate leadership and entrepreneurship. Welcome, Mr. K.K. Bhagchandani. So, my first question for you is, when you look back at the very beginning, what were those early days like? What kind of environment did you enter your career as a young professional?
So, unlike you, I did not do MBA and start. I started working, and after 9 years, I did. So my first appointment letter came from Indian Air Force, so I was trained to be a fighter pilot. This did not happen on medical grounds. So then I started without thinking. Those days, anyways, you couldn't ask them to. You couldn't ask ChatGPT, so you just get started. And my uncle, my chachu, told me that you should start from sales. And sales is a profession which even today is regret. So you can start with that. And I attribute my success that I'm glad I started from sales. And therefore, I reached wherever I could. It's because sales is a profession which tells you how to be resilient. That's a profession that tells you how not to complain. That's a profession which helps you deal with ups and downs. And therefore, if somebody has to ask me, how do you become stronger for your life? I say either you become a salesperson or you become a sportsman. Because these are both those places where the prevalence of ups and downs, ability to deal with wind and ability to deal with when you don't win, is given to you. And that's what builds resilience. Now, resilience becomes very, very important because when you grow in life, you are, and when I say life, when you grow professionally, you're not only solving your problem, you're solving others' problem also. Without resilience, it's impossible. And therefore, for you to grow without this resilience, it will be hard. So when I was starting, I just started. I was not thinking. It was sales, and you already know the fire in me, where did it come from? So I had to become big. Whatever came to me, I didn't think, I started. As a result, I got the experience ahead of others. As a result, I got the experience of toughness, of tough life, which made me stronger. So on one hand, I became resilient. On the other hand, I became stronger. And because you were in sales, you learn how to speak, how to put your point across. And that's also another very important constituent or part of this recipe. Communication and connecting with people. A salesperson is every day meeting you. Right? So they're not dependent on can I have the conversation with the person I don't know. And that's also another very important ingredient for the success is functioning without limitation. And that's what it was. And therefore those beginning, those years in the starting in sales helped me a lot. And I'm glad I was not thinking too much and I was working on it.
I think it builds a very good perspective because I have seen people have a negative perspective about sales. Like, why should I go into sales?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough, yeah.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Which job do you think will be paid more? The one which is easy to do or the one which is hard?
The one that is not really.
And that is sales. And therefore salespeople make far more money than other people. It's just that they don't earn that kind of respect in the beginning. But the end,
I think we need to not be scared of just doing the groundwork. Like it gives us a lot of perspective.
yeah. And I'm glad that you said this because people most of the times are avoiding the hard work. And guess what? Hard work is you get success. So no matter what profession you pick, no matter what level you start, unless you have put in those hours, you don't gain the experience. And you know what? You already know. What gets paid is experience, not the information. Because information, ChatGPT has enough, probably more than you do. But the information will not get paid, experience will get paid. I really think that's the question. Therefore, I'm glad you said that. You still need to focus on putting the hard work.
Can you let us know how was the transition going from Air Force to the corporate world? Like what made you push into that?
No, it was not pushed. No choice. Right? So you leave on medical grounds, which is permanent termination. So you don't have a choice. Right? So I had to start. And therefore my chachu who helped me said, don't worry, I'll be resume. And I said, well, I don't think I'm smart for corporate. And then he was the one who gave me a pat on my head and said, you were selected by one of the toughest interview process of SSB. And you think you're not smart? That cannot be true. Then I thought for a minute, yeah, that cannot be true. So not that bad. It's just that, and the reason I'm mentioning this is, sometimes when things are not working well, you start to feel bad about yourself. Am I good at this? Can I be doing this? Will I be able to do that? And all of that. So my chachu was the one who was playing the role. He said, don't worry, you can do that. And another thing which was my mind block and I want to bring up is that I told my chachu, I can't lie. How will I fit in sales? And because he had spent at that time 20 odd years in corporate world, he said, companies are almost dying to have people who are not lying. Especially salespeople who are not lying, because those are the ones who build long-term relationship with clients. We don't want transactions. We want a customer who comes and stays with us. So for loyalty, we need, the industry needs, truth-speaking salespeople. And that's how. So when I moved on, something which helped me was the personality. I already knew how to connect with people, how to speak to people. And because I started as a medical representative, I was supposed to speak to doctors who were supposedly polished, highly educated, highly technical. And this transition for me, I didn't even feel that I'm learning something just out of the blue. And everybody just supported me. That brings to another aspect. See, all the doctors supported me more than they would have supported anybody. Is because the intent was visible in my eyes. Right? They helped me and said, I don't know if this guy knows what he's doing, but I can see the sincerity. And they just responded with sincerity, helping me. And in 2.5 years, I became the youngest manager in a company which was the most aggressive company in the country. So that's just to put in perspective that if you have the intent clearly, that I'm doing it because I need to do it, not because somebody wants me to do it. This is what happens.
So my question for you is, like, you worked into sales, then you did your MBA.
Yes.
And even now we have people who are freshers and who are experienced. So what do you think is better? Like, should people work in the corporate then join MBA, or is it better to do an MBA first?
So this is my personal opinion. Right. I don't have any confusion. Get the experience first. Right? The reason here's why I say so. That the basic education which you need, you get. Then you go out in the world to find out what the school did not teach you. And then you go back to school to say, how about now that I know how the world functions, what can I utilize from this which is relevant? And here is why I say so. Schools, even graduation to a large extent, is mostly giving you general information. Right? Information which is not actually very relevant to professional work. And then on top of that, you pick a stream on MBA. And we saw that any MBA student, just ask them what they want to do. I want to be a consultant. That's one of the job, not the only job. The reason you want to be consultant is because you're already carrying the ego that I know. And it doesn't happen. Right? Why? Because A, in the first place, the ego cannot do. B, trust me, you still don't know as much as people in the industry know, because they have got the actual experience of how it works. And therefore, I would recommend that do your studies, go do some job. Then you find out what is it which I do naturally well. Come back and do your MBA with a specialization which is targeted at capitalizing your natural skill. Instead of just saying, oh, I need to be a management consultant. I get it. But then once you go and learn, maybe I understand supply chain better. Right? Or maybe I'm good with people. Or maybe I'm good at identifying the talent. Or I'm good at picking who is good person, who is not good person. Pick a job. Or you realize that whenever there is stage time, I'm at my prime. Right? Go job in either sales or marketing. Right? Or if you realize that, you know what, no matter what you do, I'm the best behind the screen. The process, the number, and all of that. Go pick something in data science, go something in operations, go something in process, go and do something in workflow, and then you know what you want to do. Now imagine if you have now got a specialization in something you have experience as well, you have brought your professional market value by a notch. That's why I like it.
So my next question is, every professional has a few defining experiences that silently shape their approach to work and leadership. So what were your early experiences that really stayed with you over the years?
So, you know, when you work for a very aggressive company, it gives you a lot of pressure. A pressure that you have never faced when you were in your family. Yeah, because I know for sure that in the culture I do, which is an Indian culture, there's so much of care which is taken on the kids. Right? A lot of things kids just pass on to their parents. It has not changed significantly. It has changed, but not significantly. In such a condition, you don't learn much. Right? So when it becomes hard, you realize, oh my God, I thought I'm coming to a kingdom, and I realized that I am not. I was just now speaking to Ishant, and I think he quoted also that when he started his job with tie and all, his manager identified, you have to bring down the ego or remove the ego. He said, go do this, do that. And then he realized, oh, the world doesn't function how the world says it functions. Right? And that's the reality check. So if you are able to do that, and that's what I did, first few years were extremely hard. But as I said, there's a lot of positive intent. That was my first lesson. The second lesson was that whenever it is about promotion, it's not about the best who gets promoted. It's the one who can get the best out of the people. And that was hard for me because at that time probably I was not ready, I was too young. And I had to learn the hard way that to get the job done is harder than doing the job itself. You have to understand that. And therefore that was the second lesson which I had, that if you want to get the job done, you better be. Although the reason it was a struggle time for me was because, like the word tells you, management, you're a manager. It's only later in my life I realized management is not as useful. Leadership is useful. And leadership and management are different. Leadership is giving a reason for somebody to do their job. And management is watching that's getting done or not. And they cannot be the same. Right? So I was trying to do management right because my boss, his boss, where is the number? Where is the performance? And we were just focusing on that, only to realize later in my life reasons people go do something, why will they do it? It has become far more relevant now because 30 years ago, people had less of a self-esteem. So they would listen. So go do that. Fine. If you tell today, go do that, it's like, how can you tell me? Why did you tell me? You were not polite. And. It's like we've lost focus on what needs to be done to what the person is saying. And that was my third lesson, is that it's not about what you say, it's about how you say. Right? And the reason I am right now sitting with you is because the information is probably available in ChatGPT, Google, or other tools. Now, I'm referring to ChatGPT just because it's more popular, but there are so many tools which can do this. Right? Perplexity is there. Gemini is for. If you look at Gemini, it's mind-blowing. So coming back to, people already know. So what is the difference? What is the differentiator? The differentiator is how you ask. How do you ask goes back to something which then I learned, which was the fourth lesson of my life, is that why is far more important than how. Right? And that I learned from Simon Sinek, and he has written a book, Start with Why. If you are able to give people why, they'll figure a way how to do it. Right? And then I reached a level in my life where I started creating my own lessons for you. One of that was that everybody wants to take the decision, but nobody wants to own the responsibility. So the lesson is that either the person who is responsible should be let to take the decision, or the one who's taking the decision, you put the responsibility on that. Okay, should we go the orange way or the green way? You decide. Why should I decide? Because it's your responsibility. And when you decide, I cannot decide because that's not my responsibility. Right? Or if I decide, then I free you from the responsibility. But guess what is happening here? If I'm freeing you from the responsibility, well, why am I paying you for the job? Makes sense. Right? If the responsibility is mine, why am I paying somebody? And that's another lesson which I have, is that because many times I was working with people who were smart. Right? And then if there's somebody who's smart, you want them to take responsibility because you are paying them, you let them take the decision. And then came another one which is later on, that whatever the impression world is trying to drive to you is wrong. So if you have grown up that the world says this, take it for granted. That is wrong. The world tells you the competition is high, it is wrong. Because the competition is lowest. I don't know if you were there where I proved that actually the competition is lowest. So on and so forth. So if you keep your wisdom quotient open, if you keep your emotional quotient high, you will do it very well. That's a long question because too many lessons.
I think I grabbed up. I need to settle in and take all the information, but that was a very good learning. So my another question for you is, like, there are people who want to start their own business after MBA.
Sure.
But within this community, we often think about jobs. So if people who want to start their business, should they do it? Should they have some experience in job and then start their business, or should they immediately have the business? Because people have their own like paying of the loan and responsibilities. So what advice would you have for them?
So I will distill it down to something which may make sense if you have been listening to it all that stuff. Right. So you start a business when you know how to work with people. If you have already learned how to work with people, go start a business. It doesn't matter whether you have done the MBA or not. And if you don't know how to work with people, it doesn't matter whether you're doing the MBA or not. So that's the simple answer. And people think now that I have done the MBA, I should be wanting to know. And for me, the submission is very simple. A, what you need for success in business is idea. Your business idea, something which can bring value from the market. B, how do you work with it? C, can you see the unseen? Can you see more than what others can see? These are the three ratings which will make you successful. So if you have attained these three skills or capabilities or personality traits, whatever you want to call it, you can start a business. But only because you have read that the business runs like this, there is no guarantee that you will be successful as a business person. Now there are places where there is family business. So the business is established. You have grown with the father who keeps telling about how the business is running, what decisions you took, what kind of market it is, and so on. So you have learned. So those are those people who have picked these three trades at home. So they can go and join there. But if you even see today, companies, larger companies, those parents are now telling their kids that go do the job. You do the job in our company only, but you're not the CEO or the top leadership now. Did you go and find out? And that's exactly what I mean. So the question should be, when should I start a business? Right? As I said, it's got nothing to do with it. Did I answer the question?
Yes. So this is my last question. If you could, what advice would you give your younger version of yourself?
Younger version of myself. And this is something which I have clarified recently. Look in the eye and tell you that whatever the world is telling you is to keep you away from success. Because the world does not want you to be successful. That's secret number one of your life. However, whatever the universe is telling you to do, it is right. And the universe wants you to be successful. You know why? Because that was the reason the universe created you. So whatever your grandma told you, whatever your grandfather told you, whatever your father told you or mother told you, is what you should do. You know why? Because you can create wonders if you do something which you do naturally well, for which you have that desire, and have you now found clarity. Go do that. If it requires you to be a single person, it's okay. All sports people are single, right? In terms of what they're trying to do, they don't need a team. Virat Kohli has to perform on the field by himself. Messi, Ronaldo, Jordan, all of these guys. But if there's something which requires you to be, driving a big, large organization, the first lesson you need to learn is people do things for themselves, not for you. So if you can go and give them those reasons why they should function, they will work for you. And those are the advice. The universe is inside you. Just keep looking inside, not outside. I wish you all the very best. God bless you.